If you're applying to PhD programs, you probably know that nailing your research interest is key. But what does that really mean? How specific should you be? And how do you stand out from other applicants? In this video, I'll provide you with all the tools you need to outline your research interest in a way that convinces admissions committees to take you in, along with guidelines to avoid common pitfalls. Let's dive in. Your research interests are at the heart of your statement of purpose, and sending an application with poorly outlined research interests equates to sending an application without a pulse. The portion of your SOP about your research interests shows your future as a potential researcher, your intellectual direction, and your fit with the program. In addition to this, it's really important to also know that, especially if you are applying to a program that is fairly popular and gets a lot of applications, unfortunately, admissions committees don't always read every word of your statement of purpose, and they often skip to your research interest to find out if they should bother exploring the rest of your application. So you can only imagine that sending an SOP with vaguely outlined research interests can really kill your application. Now, that sounds like a lot of pressure and it can induce a lot of anxiety, but here's the thing. As much as your research interests are really crucial to your PhD application, they're not as important as one might think. Confusing, right? Let's break this down and explain why. While it's completely natural to want to get things exactly right to increase your chance of admissions, it's also important to understand that your research interests are not set in stone. Admissions committees actually know that research evolves with time, and they take that into consideration when they take a look at your statement of purpose. In reality, a lot of PhD students come into a program thinking they're going to work on one thing and end up doing something slightly different, mainly because they'll be taking a lot of additional courses, they will explore new questions, and they will take a deeper dive within the field. So while it's important to show that you've thought about your intellectual direction, you are not expected to have all the answers. Admissions committees are looking for a starting point, so your focus should be on demonstrating your passion about the field, your intellectual curiosity, and that you also possess the drive to thrive in a PhD program. So don't let fear paralyze you and focus on demonstrating your passion for the field and your ability to grow as a scholar. And remember that you're not locking yourself into a lifetime commitment here. This is just a glimpse of where you are at this specific moment in time. That being said, there's usually two different groups of PhD applicants. You have the first group that is laser focused. They know exactly what they want to work on. They formulated the questions. They know how to go about analyzing the data, etc., etc. If this is your case, well, lucky you, you can now just focus on sharing these interests as convincingly as possible. And I'll give you a few tips later on in this video on how to do just that. But there's also another group, which is probably the most important group of PhD applicants. And these people have a broad sense of direction in terms of what they'd like to work on, but they don't have all the specifics in hand yet. Some people also have a few ideas and they don't know which one they should focus on in their statement of purpose. If it is your case, do not panic. You are actually not alone in this situation, and I'll provide you with a few tips to narrow it down. So before we even start, it's really important for you to remember that being laser focused is as valued by admissions committees as intellectual curiosity and flexibility in presenting your research ideas. I think that if you keep that in mind as you start exploring which ideas to talk about, this is a great way for you to decrease the level of anxiety that's usually connected or related to the writing of this very important portion of your statement of purpose. The first step to take is to start thinking about program alignment. Look at your ideas and see which ideas are the most aligned with your target program. And you can do that by conducting a bit of research about the program, find out about faculty research, research centers, take a look at the curriculum. If there are areas of concentration, identify them, and then take a look at your ideas and see which one aligns best with the program's strength. This is the best way, in my opinion, to narrow your ideas down and to pick the one that's going to be the most convincing to admissions committees. The second step is to start thinking about your background. So look at your ideas and identify the ones that connects best with your previous academic or professional experience. So if you've taken courses on a specific topic, you've written papers, or you've conducted any type of research in your line of work, this might be a great idea for you to share with admissions committees. It definitely demonstrates that you are prepared to pursue this idea further and that you possess the solid foundations that are necessary for you to be successful in a PhD program. By the way, if you are in the process of looking back at your past experience and you're working hard on your CV, and you don't know how to present this experience to convince admissions committees, I highly encourage you to download my free guide that I've included in the description box of this video. I provide you with all the guidelines you need to come up with the best CV possible, and I also provide you with a template that can be useful. So don't hesitate to take a look at it and download it. It is in the description box of this video. And the good thing about it is that it is completely free. Another great way for you to narrow down your choices is to think about the ideas that you're most passionate about. A great way for you to show enthusiasm and passion for your field is to pick a research interest that you are very committed to and that you see yourself working on for a long time. Keep in mind that a PhD program takes a long time. There's a lot of challenges involved, etc., etc. So picking one of your interests to write about in your statement of purpose that you're really truly excited about might be a great way for you to make a convincing case about yourself in front of admissions committees. Another great factor to also take into consideration as you are conceiving your application strategy for PhD programs is focusing on flexibility. If you have a few different ideas, you might want to pick an idea that is a little bit broader than another to make a stronger case to the admissions committees. In general, if you just target one professor, you might alienate the rest of the admissions committees who might not have any connection with your target topic. So it might be a great idea for you to pick a topic that is versatile and that could attract the attention of a wide variety of faculty members. So if you have a topic or a question that you'd like to investigate, take a look at the rest of the faculty members and ask yourself if this topic could potentially align with other professors. This is a great way for you to increase your chances of getting admitted into your target program. And finally, a great way for you to make sure that your research interests are relevant and that they resonate well with people is to go out and seek feedback. So identify a professor or a peer or a mentor or even a professional to get a second opinion on what you intend to present to admissions committees. Sometimes having an extra set of eyes could be really beneficial in seeing flaws or gaps that you might not have noticed as you were working on your statement of purpose. So now let's talk about what admissions committees are really looking for when they look at your research interest. Well, in addition to how well they fit with the program, which is a no-brainer, and how connected they are to the overall activities in the department, they're gonna obviously look at the way you present your ideas, and clarity is key. So you really do want to present your research interest in a clear manner, in a very organized manner as well. And you don't want admissions committees to try to figure out and read between the lines about the real focus of your research interest. So it's really important to spend some time on this portion of your statement of purpose to make sure that, considering that they look at statements of purpose in a very quick way at first, that you really get their attention and that you really share with them what they want to find out about you as an applicant. Another factor that's going to carry a lot of weight as well is the feasibility of your project. So you really want to pick a topic and present a topic that's going to be obviously feasible considering the amount of time that you have between the time you'll be taking classes and the time you graduate. So you definitely don't want to present an overly ambitious project to admissions committees because they might draw conclusions about your ability to have a clear idea of what a PhD degree entails. So really focus on presenting a topic that's feasible considering the time that you have on your hands and the resources available in your target department. Lastly, a really important factor is obviously how you will convey in your research interest that you possess the skills and knowledge to pursue this specific topic. So obviously you want to present research interests that are connected, as I mentioned before, to previous experience in the field or previous experience in research so that you lower the concerns they might have looking at your statement of purpose, especially if you don't have specific experience in your target field or if you haven't worked on this specific topic before. So make sure to draw connections between your research interest and the skills you need to possess to make sure that you convince them that you have all the qualities in hand to be successful in your target program. So now let's talk about the nitty-gritty of what you should be talking about in this portion of your statement of purpose. And before I start, it's really important to tell you that it should be about the length of one paragraph, sometimes two, but you don't want anything longer than that. You want to present your ideas in a very clear and concise manner, as I've mentioned before. And you definitely don't want to be rambling and go in a multiplicity of directions. This could be confusing for admissions committees. So what's the overall outline? Well, first of all, you should present your topic or the questions that you'd like to research. You should also identify how you intend to explore these questions in terms of methodology. So if you have an idea of which theory you'd like to use or the specifics of how you will tackle this question, this is the place for you to share it with them. You should also identify your sources or the data that you will use to examine this question or explore this topic. You should also tell them the goal of your research. So what do you want to do? What's the end goal? Do you want to prove something, disprove something? You want to add a new angle to existing research, etc., etc. You might not have the answer, as I've mentioned before, but giving yourself a sense of direction will tell them that you are not lost and the steps that you're willing to take are leading to something of value. And finally, one thing that you should also address is what is the relevance of this topic or these research interests? In other words, why should we care? You should be able to justify why this question is worth investigating in light of existing scholarship or considering the overall landscape of the field. You don't want to be too broad or ambitious, but it would be a great idea for you to show them that you did not think about these ideas out of nowhere, that you are aware of previous work that has been done on the topic. In my opinion, this is a great way for you to make a really strong case for yourself in your statement of purpose. So now let's talk about pitfalls to avoid. Well, obviously, after this video, you probably know that you need to be extra clear. You do not want to be too vague in presenting your research ideas or too broad or too ambitious. You should not introduce yourself as someone who wants to revolutionize the world of physics. Keep it humble, keep it modest, and keep it within the limits of what is possible for you to accomplish in the context of PhD studies. Another pitfall to avoid is to use too much jargon when you talk about your research interests. And this applies to PhD applicants who might have experience working on this specific topic. Keep in mind that although you are focusing on a specific professor that you want to work with, you will be read by a wide variety of professors that are part of the admissions committees, and you want to talk to them as well to make a strong case for yourself. And one thing that is really admirable in academia from the standpoint of an admissions committee's members is going to be your ability to talk about something that's really extremely complex in a very clear and simple manner. So avoid flowery language, extremely technical terms, and try to think that you are speaking to a lot of people that might not know about your topic. In my opinion, this is a great way to impress admissions committees. Another common pitfall to avoid is to make unsubstantiated claims. So, if you are stating certain things in your research interest, it's really important for you to back it up with a source and clearly identify where you are getting these ideas or these statements or this data that you're using to talk to admissions committees. Academics love to see sources, so don't hesitate to provide sources or to identify existing research when you are sharing your research interests with admissions committees. It is especially important if you're coming from a non-academic background or you're changing fields to demonstrate that you are aware of this existing scholarships. The good thing about academia is that they will appreciate someone who has done their work on their own. You might not have taken a lot of classes, but if you're really well read on a specific topic and you don't necessarily have formal training, they will consider you as seriously as someone with that formal training. So don't hesitate to identify sources or references in your statement of purpose. It is a great way for you to score extra points. Well, that's all, folks. I hope this video was helpful in helping you outline your research interests. I know it can be quite stressful. If you enjoyed that video, please press the like button or subscribe. I'll be continuing to post videos related to PhD applications or life in general as a PhD student. If you are in the process of applying to PhD programs right now and you are wondering whether you should email professors or not, or you're wondering if you need a publication or not to get admitted, I highly encourage you to take a look at these two videos in which I go into detail into all the specifics needed for you to be a successful PhD applicant. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.